Hey, it's Kevin with the New Warehouse Podcast, bringing you a new episode today. And on today's episode, I am going to be joined by Reed Egger, and he was our top listened to episode in 2024, right? So he's back, but he's with a different company, his own company this time, and he's tackling the challenges of hiring frontline employees and making the process better and more streamlined, not only for the hiring company, but also for the employee themselves, which I think is really interesting. We'll talk about that balance here in this conversation, and I think we might even talk to his solution that he's built as well. We'll find out a little later, but definitely excited to talk about this. He's Reed. He's the founder and CEO of Achilles HR, and we are excited to talk to him. So, Reed, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great, Kevin, and thanks for having me. Excited to dig in with you again and hopefully set the listener record again and reclaim my title.
Yeah. No pressure, right? To or anything like that to start off. But happy to get you back, and you've started your own company now, so it's super exciting, and happy we can finally talk about this on the podcast. I know we've been talking about a little bit over the past year and what you've been working on. I think it's super interesting. So happy we can share it with the audience now. But you tell us about it. Tell us what is Achilles HR, and tell us like why did you start this company?
Yeah, so Achilles HR, essentially like the main mission is to help people hire better for full-time workforces and also significantly increase the candidate experience.
Mm,
So what exactly is it? So the way to think about it is this: as if you hired a recruiting coordinator, onboarded them, trained them completely on what to do, call scripts, everything like that, scheduling, all of those things. And they did it 24/7 in any language,
mm,
operating all of the time. So that's the parity there is that we have with, like, let's say a human recruiting coordinator is pretty much at 100% outside of just like normal human behaviors. So
mm,
everything from having like a knowledge base on the company, handling all your scheduling, texting conversations with candidates, phone conversations with candidates, actually being able to dig deep into skill-based questions and provide feedback on those questions. So if you give an answer, digging deeper and digging deeper, and then taking perfect notes. And then most importantly, that most people always have questions about is seamless integrations into their HR systems or their
mm,
applicant tracking systems. So if an applicant comes in and they're marked as new, then once we complete it, we update it to phone screen, we move the stages automatically, and then we also like attach like a real world resume to the candidate's profile. So something that's like
mm.
very specific and tailored to the role.
Yeah, super interesting. And when we talk about kind of that, and especially looking at like those frontline employees, right? There's high volume of hiring there, right? So it can take a long time to get through some of those initial things and those steps that you're tackling and trying to automate essentially now and make it much easier for the hiring manager. But tell us a little bit about when we look at the traditional hiring process, right? I guess tell us a little bit about what does that look like? What have you seen in the market, and why is that kind of failing those frontline employees that are trying to get into like the warehouses, for example?
Yeah, definitely. So for a little context, I've spent about 14 years in or around the industrial space.
Mm-hmm.
About the 8 of that more on like the operator or finance capacities, and then the years preceding that spent some time in a company called Rig Up that does labor solutions for the skilled trades in oil and gas, and then time at a company called Traba, which is light industrial staffing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for before starting this company for about 6 years, all I did was think about labor, how to optimize it, talking to actually like the hiring managers, the operators, all of those things. And you hear something constantly, right? Everyone predominantly wants to hire full time.
Mm-hmm.
They think that the labor supply there's a shortage. They think that there's a skill mismatch, things like that. You hear it nonstop, and they're using Indeed. They're using legacy HR systems. They're typically ignored by software companies. In terms of like frontline software, specifically tailored to that operator or HR professional, right? You want them to have something that feels like it was made for them. And then on the flip side, talking to candidates, the best candidates that you want typically are working during the time
Mm-hmm.
that HR team members or recruiters are working. So it's pretty tough to pull someone off a line or out of a 3PL or something like that when they're being tracked for performance, essentially. So they've got their 30 to 60-minute lunch and maybe two 15-minute breaks. So then that's supposed to coordinate perfectly with being able to do their initial interview over the phone or potentially in person, which costs money to get to that facility. And then the way people apply to jobs are like job applications or like multiple steps, tons of things to fill out, not mobile optimized, right? And then like some jobs requiring resumes when candidates are typically working on their feet, right? They're not sitting at a computer all day, and most hourly workers are operating off their phones and their computers. So there's a disconnect there, and then it takes weeks for people to hear back. Like a fast response time from a human is like 3 to 5 days. Those are a couple of things. I could go on for a long time about all the problems that exist, but that's a big one. And then like non-English speaking candidates typically have like the rate of response and them being considered for a candidate for a role basically is cut in half.
Interesting.
Like in the negative way.
Yeah. Interesting. And I think it's really interesting to hear that. And, I've hired, hourly employees before too. And certainly I have faced some of those challenges, right? Where it's like, okay, well, we're sifting through the applicants, right? Looking at the resumes, like, oh, this is a good one. And then we're trying to get in touch with them. And like, they probably already,
you're playing phone tag.
Yeah. They probably already have like a job in a lot of cases, right? And they're just looking for like something better, or maybe like higher pay or advancement or something like that. But they're working, right? So it's kind of like, but you're working too at the same time. So it's like, well, I'm, as a manager, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna like interrupt my dinner at night to like phone screen a candidate potentially, right? So very interesting to do that, and I love that it's addressing kind of both sides, right? Because both sides are kind of seeing the challenge, right? Where like the candidates like, like this is very inconvenient for me, but I need the job, and and then I'm also like not hearing for a while, so I'm thinking like I probably don't.
Well, you're thinking I'm going to go apply to 5 more jobs.
Yeah, like I probably didn't get it, so I'm going to keep applying, right? And then what happens, right? And kind of like rolls on and on and on, keeps growing the challenges there. So, when you look at that, and I guess the market in general, I mean, aside from those challenges, I mean, what are people in the industrial market like struggling with the most when it comes to hiring?
I mean, one of the things is not necessarily about hiring, but it's turnover is something that tons of businesses experience. But in the hiring flow, it's one or two factors that are pains that people are dealing with, right? They either have so many applicants, it's incredibly hard or impossible to go through all of them and to get back to them in a timely manner and interview them properly, right? Not skipping steps, not rushing through it, not just ignoring someone if they don't have a resume, things like that. Then on the other side of it, maybe someone doesn't have a high volume of applicants. They need to be able to convert every single applicant they run into, or they're just too busy doing their main function to focus on recruiting, and they just need some help. So our solution it's pretty cool because we've seen customers that are very high volume hiring have a ton of success, and then customers who are hiring like 2 to 3 people a month and are a lower volume. So we kind of cover both those things.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic actually to point out because obviously at a high volume, like I can definitely see where it's a great solution because it's like you got to get through so many screenings to get down to those actual candidates that are worth like meeting in person potentially or bringing on board. But even from a smaller operation, right? Like you're hiring a couple people, but do you have the HR staff to do that and help you and assist you with that? Probably not, right? So
right, and typically if you're only hiring, 1 to 2 people a month, you don't have a dedicated recruiter. So it's either HR generalist or HR business person or the actual operator themselves doing the screening, right? And so all of those people, all of those roles have so many different responsibilities they have. Right. So if you're doing open enrollment as an HR business partner, then recruiting takes a pause, right? Or like payroll or like reconciling timesheets to be able to pay people because we know you got to pay people first before you focus on getting new people hired.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
So like I was speaking to someone yesterday who's a plant manager over a couple of plants, and he has an HR business partner, but I was talking to him and he was doing all the screening for a scheduler role. And he has a lot of other things to do. So essentially you just get a pile of applicants and you have to go through the phone screen because you want more clarity on their background because a lot of people will apply that have no qualifications. or like aren't necessarily set up for success for the role. And that's that's a very expensive, costly use of his time
Mm-hmm.
to go through all of those. Instead of, here's a list of 10, they've review all the call screens, and then the next call is you jumping in to what matters most, and you can make a hiring decision typically off of that.
Yeah. And I think that speeding that up is great for the hiring manager, but also, also for the employee, right, or the candidate as well. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? Because like the speed and this kind of 24/7 accessibility as well that you're talking about in here for the hourly workers, and trying to do some of these things like at a convenient hour or convenient time for these people is one of the biggest challenges I think to get over, is like just syncing up in the first place. So your solution is addressing that, but I mean, tell us a little bit about, because there's kind of a difference, I would say, in my eyes, of like the speed and the timing of like a hiring process for a salaried person who is typically going to be like that hiring manager, right, versus like an hourly person. And I think maybe there's like a gap there in understanding why that speed matters for the hourly person. So tell us a little bit about that, and like how are you trying to address some of that?
Yeah. So I'll address like why the speed's relevant, and then also where like the candidate experience is improved,
Sure.
because that's a typical question. Customers or prospective customers thinking like this won't fit for our workforce, or our workers won't respond to AI. But the speed's critically important for a couple things, right? The way that a lot of tools exist right now to be able to make hiring easier, but at the same time, that also makes applying for jobs easier.
Yeah.
So due to the fact that these are like doing well stats, like 3 to 5 days typical response time when someone applies for a job from a human. Think about 65% never hear back at all.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned, if you're a Spanish speaking candidate or you speak Mandarin or something, that percentage goes up significantly. 61% want a mobile friendly process. About half those responses and questions that come from candidates come after hours. So when you add all those things together, there's a lot of slippage and leakage in like the hiring process. Oh, and about 85 to 92% of applicants that click apply and don't make it to submit. And there is something along that process that creates that drop off. And so if you think about it, if someone says there aren't enough applicants. Well, if you have 1,000 coming in, there's a world where you have 850 to 920 not even making it to submit, while some are not qualified. Some drop off because it's hard to apply. Mm-hmm. And then you never hear back. So you're going to apply to 5 or 10 more jobs. And with quick apply that exists now, it's very easy to do that. And so then these people you're competing with talent, right? You're competing against the person down the street from you, the person a couple miles from you. We have some customers that recruit from like a different city where they know they have a really strong labor supply and pull them over there. And especially if you're in like in a huge mega center by like an Amazon fulfillment center and a couple others, it's a battle constantly. And so you have to be jumping on the candidate as soon as possible, and also being able to not just get the interview set, but if they have questions, concerns, if they want to ask about things, do they show up to the interview wearing steel toes? Where do they park? Where do they show up? All those things. And it's impossible for a human to continue to give that guidance or like help with that. But with our system, we had a candidate going to a interview at a 3PL in Florida. Mm-hmm. And so we just jump around the transcript sometimes of different customers just to see what's going on. And it was a pretty cool engagement. The candidate reached out like the day of the interview, because we send them a reminder about the interview, and asked about if they needed to wear steel toes to the facility. And then also mentioned that he was having a kid soon. Mm-hmm. And if it took 30 or 90 days to have his health insurance activated. And Sam answered both those questions with like a smiley face and said like, looking forward to the interview.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. And Sam is the name of this AI.
Yes, Sam is what we call the recruiter.
Yes. Okay. And this is all powered by AI, correct?
Yes. Yeah. That's also another thing that kind of exists in the world right now, is everyone's throwing AI at everything, right? Yeah. And most of the time there's a lot of noise to cut through, and there's something to be said for a company that was built AI native versus a company that is like built it with legacy software, and then you throw AI on it, because then it's a lot harder to make it truly agentic and like automated.
Yeah.
when it's built like in a more legacy fashion.
Mm. Yeah, interesting. And I guess when we talk about AI, sometimes too, I think there's still some like hesitancy, right, on like how is that going to work and how is that going to be effective. So I'm sure you get some of those questions as you're talking to potential customers, right, and prospects. So I'm curious, like how do you make sure that like Sam is giving the right information and giving the right answers and not going off book for
Yeah,
any
not
reason.
hallucinating or
Yeah.
going off the rails.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. So first off, we have a lot of systems in place, and you can also find it within our portal when you're a customer of like trust and safety, where it shows
Mm-hmm.
every state regulation and rules that we're following and making sure that's in place. In terms of going off the rails, we spend a lot of time putting in a ton of guardrails in place to basically keep Sam on track.
Mm-hmm.
And we monitor for like any hallucinating conversations since we've started. The only time I've seen it happen one time and like flagged, and it was a conversation about the NFL Ravens, which we then fixed that.
Okay.
It was a 10-minute conversation, funny enough.
Yeah.
And then with coming up with the questions, they're completely customized business to business. And we have like suggested questions that people can use. So Sam's only going to ask the questions that we tell it to ask.
Okay. Gotcha. Interesting. And does the candidate know like that it's AI or
it's up to the business. So what typically the way the flow works, it's a feature we can turn on or off in certain states. It's required. It's like in Illinois, starting on January 1st, you need to say that. Once you start talking to it, I mean, it's a very, very good quality voice that we've built. But you can and if you ask it, it will tell you. But it's the typical flow that how it works is you receive a text message within seconds of applying. Then from there, you can build your interview text only, text and voice. And it's basically like, hey, John, this is Sam from insert company name from the new warehouse, calling you about the forklift operator role. I have a few questions, then we'll get into a phone interview. So then they can start to converse with the system. And then you can see like this is actually helpful and dynamic and answers the questions. And then it sets you up for the phone screen. So you're kind of already getting like a familiarity with the system and like building some trust. And then it moves you to the phone screen. And we can customize the intros too, to where it can say whatever someone wants. It could like clarify like this is an opportunity to get your information in front of the hiring manager as soon as possible and paint as good of a picture for you as possible, so that the hiring decision can be made faster and better.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I was curious about that because I know, I've seen some of the other like AI voice agents, especially like on the like freight and transportation side, are using a lot of that, and it's pretty crazy, like some of the stuff I've seen. So, and not like realizing that it could be AI potentially because it's so good. So, so I heard that maybe we can talk to Sam today. Is that true?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. Cool.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Glad I got your number before we started recording, so it didn't get blasted out to everyone.
Yes, definitely. So, so Sam is going to call me.
Yes, I'm going to add you as an applicant right now. So if you're ready, I'll click submit.
Yeah, I'm ready. What job am I applying for here?
You're going to find out.
Okay.
All right. You should receive a text telling you you're going to get a call, and then you can just pick up the phone and call it, or just click call your phone.
All right. I received the text. It says, "Hey, Kevin, this is Sam from the new warehouse. I have Sam that works for me. Thanks for applying to the forklift operator role. Can I ask you a few quick questions here to get your application moving?" So do I say yes or just call?
You can say yes.
Okay. I say yes.
It's just going to be 2 quick questions of like deal breakers. That's are you authorized to work in the United States, and are you over the age of 18?
Okay.
And throughout this flow, if you wanted to, but for speed, we'll skip asking it random questions until the call. You could be asking questions about the job, about the company, information related to that, so that the candidate can actually get that true like human like experience. And we've uploaded companies like benefit docs, like knowledge centers, things like that into our system, so that it can answer anything a recruiter would answer, or like just typical FAQs that candidates typically ask.
So let's see. So it asked me, am I 18 years or older? I said yes. And it says, thank you for your responses, Kevin. The next step is a short phone interview, which is a great opportunity to share more about your background and ensure you put your best foot forward. We'll call you in just a few minutes to conduct the interview. If that timing doesn't work, we can always reschedule. You can also give us a call anytime at the number. Looking forward to speaking with you. All right. I'm getting a call from Sam right now. Hello?
Kevin, big fan of the podcast. I'm Sam, the AI recruiter from Achilles, and apparently today I'm the one asking the questions. We're hiring forklift operators at the new warehouse, and I need to make sure you're qualified. No pressure, but I've screened a lot of candidates. Ready to show me what you've got? Is now a good time to chat?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks. Quick overview for you. The new warehouse is a high volume modern distribution center. We run a fast paced e commerce operation, but we're all about doing things safely and as a team. This forklift operator role handles sit down counterbalance lifts, reach trucks, order pickers, the works. You'll be loading, unloading trailers, moving inventory, following strict OSHA and company safety protocols, and pre shift checks are a must. Pay starts at $19 an hour and can go up to $23 if you've got more experience or skills with equipment like reach trucks. Sound good so far? Cool.
Yes.
Before we dive in, great. Glad to hear it. Are you ready to dive into a few questions so I can get a sense of your experience?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. Let's kick things off. Are you currently certified to operate a forklift? If yes, what types of forklifts are you certified on?
Yes, I'm certified on an
Nice.
order selector and sit-down forklift.
Awesome. That's exactly what we're looking for. Order selector and sit down. Perfect. Next up, walk me through what you check during a forklift pre-shift inspection. What's your usual routine?
Oh, this is nice. I like this. So let's see. My usual routine, I would check to make sure that the forklift is safe, the battery is charged, have all my equipment, and there's no visible damage or issues with the vehicle itself.
That's a good start. Thanks. Can you get a little more specific? Like what particular parts or features are you checking before each shift?
I made it hard for you.
I see that. So let's see, particular features. So I'm looking for anything that may not be attached to the vehicle or maybe a potential distraction for me as the operator before I start the forklift, and also making sure that the forks are in good working order, that the battery is charged enough to do whatever I need it to do. And I'm also looking to make sure that there's nothing that sounds not right or that is not running properly when I start up the vehicle for the day.
Now you're not making it hard. Just want to get all the details. How about safety features like brakes, lights, horn, tires, or fluid levels? Are any of those on your checklist before you hop on?
Sure, absolutely. So, well, before I hop on, I wouldn't check the brakes yet, right? I would check the brakes after I hop on and start the vehicle, but making sure that fluid levels are good, tires are okay, there's no issues, if they're filled with air, they're not flat, and if they're not filled with air, they're solid, and making sure there's no major chunking on those tires or anything of that nature.
Love that. Checking for chunking on solids and brake functionality, that's the right approach. Let's keep rolling. How do you handle pedestrian traffic when you're driving a forklift in a busy warehouse?
I make sure that the pedestrian sees me and we make eye contact before I pass by them or cross by them. And then I obey depending on the rules of the passways and the passages within the forklift, whoever has the right of way, whether it's the forklift or the pedestrian.
That's a strong answer. Making eye contact and following right-of-way rules is key. What about blind corners or intersections? Anything you do differently there?
Yes, at blind corners, I would stop and look, and I would also honk the horn on the forklift as well.
Perfect. That's exactly what you want to do. Stop, look, Honk on those corners. All right, last question, and this one's a fun one. Our founder, Kevin, has a vision for warehouse content that's like car and driver test drives, but for forklifts and warehouse robots. If you could test drive any piece of warehouse equipment for the podcast, what would you pick and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Definitely. Any piece of equipment. I think that I would test drive a an autonomous reach truck to see how it works remotely, potentially from a teleoperation perspective. And can I ask you a question?
That's a great pick. Testing an autonomous reach truck, especially with teleop, would make for awesome content. Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Do you believe and do you have in your culture that you think that warehouses are sexy?
Oh, totally. Warehouses are absolutely sexy. It's all about the chaos, the tech, the speed, and that feeling when everything runs like clockwork. There's nothing cooler than a smooth system, right? Any other burning questions about the job or the company?
Yes, actually, who has the best podcast about warehousing?
Gotta say, hands down, it's the New Warehouse podcast. Nobody breaks down warehousing, logistics, and cool tech like you do, Kevin. That's not just me sucking up, I promise. Anything else you're curious about?
Yeah, last question is how much PTO do I get?
Great question. PTO policy details aren't in my playbook right now, but that's definitely one to bring up with the hiring manager. They'll be able to lay it all out for you. Anything else on your mind?
How long until I would hear from the hiring manager?
You should hear back pretty quickly, usually within a couple days, since we move fast when we find good folks. The hiring manager will review everything and reach out soon. Anything else? Or are you good for now?
No, I think I'm good for now. Thank you.
Great. The hiring manager will review your application and get back to you soon. Have a great day.
You too. Oh, she hung up on me. All right. Fantastic. That was great. I mean, she knew the right answers too, right? I mean, when they're like,
So that's the cool part that I always try to emphasize to customers and prospective ones is like, we have the ability to essentially add in the information as if a hiring manager was giving instruction to a recruiter or someone doing the interviews on the types of answers they're looking for. Mm-hmm. So we can add that on guidance and all the questions. And as you saw, when I mentioned it's like hiring a recruiter, we can make it as smart, specifically tailored to a business and role as we want and as possible. And we have systems that like automatically do a lot of that. So it's a pretty quick setup, relatively speaking.
Yeah, super interesting, and I love the way like she kind of like pried for a little more depth in the answer. I thought that was pretty cool for sure, and she I mean she had personality too, right? Which I think is really interesting. So I'm curious, like how did you kind of develop that, or how do you like set? Is that something you can change a little bit? Like
so we can change all of that. There's like two paths that companies that are doing voice are doing. They either outsource it to a provider or you build it in house, which is harder and more time consuming. But we decided that we wanted to have a lot more flexibility in how we operate with the voice and being able to customize it on a customer to customer basis if we wanted to. So we built it all in house. So our whole engineering team is here in New York. So it took some time. There's a lot of trial and error to get it to that level.
Yeah. Because I mean, when I was talking to Sam, I'm like, oh, this sounds like some recruiters I've talked to before.
And if you would have answered
personality,
and if you would have answered with hola or bonjour, then it would have switched to that language, transcribed it all, and then translated it back to English.
Oh, really? Interesting. So it would have recognized on the fly here, and Sam's calling me back.
You can ignore that one.
Oh, should I ignore it? Oh,
that's the application call where I sent you a test call.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I was getting hired. I thought maybe that was my offer.
But we do have cool functionality in our system also where a human can take over on the text front, where they can actually text directly with candidates from our portal without having to give up their personal number, or just like right next to their profile, just send them a message. And if you texted Sam back and said, call me tomorrow at 3:47 p.m., then Sam would log that and then call you at that time to meet you at a time that's convenient.
Very cool. Very cool. And then, and for the language thing, you mentioned like, if you answer with like hola or bonjour or something like that, I mean, if, cause Sam was the first one that, spoke, or no, I guess I was the first one that spoke, right? But even if like you answered it as just hi, right? And then say you spoke Spanish, right? Could you ask Sam like, habla español, and then Sam would recognize and switch?
Yeah, exactly. And if you started the conversation that you did earlier over text in a different language, then Sam would just auto intro in that language. And we also have it set on in most production environments with customers. We have Sam, if they have a heavy bilingual workforce, then we have Sam actually like ask them what language they prefer, and then we'll go for that language. So like the candidate knows that if they don't speak that great of English or Spanish, let's say it's a recruiter recruiting them in Spanish, but they're trying to speak in that language, this tells them like, it's okay. You can speak in like the language you're most comfortable with.
Interesting. And it's super fascinating. And so from my conversation, right. So what gets generated for the hiring company is kind of like a summary basically. And like kind of, you said like a tailored kind of resume put together.
Exactly. So think of it, the way we like to think about it is like a real world resume, specifically tied to that job, right? Because you'll have applicants who apply who, I was talking to someone yesterday, their most recent job was a cook. And then before that, it was something else. And then maybe they were a forklift operator for 3 years. When you're hiring from that, you care about those 3 years and that they've been consistent at a job. So then this is like specific details tailored to that job. And so what you get is, the top is just like a profile of the candidate, phone number, that kind of stuff. And you get a summary. So like if a recruiter wrote a paragraph of notes highlighting what's relevant for the job description, the questions, those things, then you get a checklist of all the qualifications you need and then context on where they've landed on them and like a green or red. And then you can actually click on those in the report it sends you and go to that exact context. And if you're within our software, because you can operate with us from your system of record or from ours because they read and write to each other, you can see all this information in a very interactive way where you can click on each question, see the context, read the transcript, read the text transcript, message the candidate from there, look at their resume, and with a click of one button, you can have Sam go off and start texting with the candidate to schedule the interview on your calendar.
Interesting. Yeah. Really, really great. And obviously the interaction there, we just recorded it, right? So people can see it and we did it live here. So I think it was, really a great interaction. And like I said, I think what stood out to me was like, it was personality around it, I think. And then, taking my answer and then saying like, oh, I'm looking for a little more, right? I think is a really good thing and kind of getting some more clarification. I think that's great for not only the hiring team, but also for like the candidate themselves too, right? Because, sometimes maybe they hear the question and, they don't know exactly how much they're looking for. So like the fact that Sam was like, oh, well, tell me a little bit more. I think that was pretty good. So really impressive, what you've built here, Reed, and really cool to get to use it real time and check it out. Now, I think maybe we've just seen it, but if you look at kind of hiring as a whole, right, where do you think kind of the future of hiring is heading, and what does that look like?
Well, I think, obviously things have already changed, and I think some people refuse to accept that, right?
Sure.
Most people are not operating. Not as many people own a computer. Most people are operating off their phones. Numbers change. There's a lot of technology to apply to jobs too. So you've got to capture people faster. You have to meet them where they are. You probably should focus more a lot of the times when you have like a semi-skilled role on seeking someone out like consistent, right? So that you can train the right candidates who want to be trained and want to stay for a while. But you've got to embrace technology, right? Half the candidates that you're interviewing use AI.
Yeah.
Right. I used to see it all the time in past roles. You'd get messages where you knew that was generated by AI. So if they're using AI, why wouldn't you use it to create a better candidate experience and hire faster and better?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really interesting to see how you're applying it, and how it can be useful for this kind of hiring, and getting through these candidates, and giving the candidate a better experience at the end of the day too. And I think speeding up that process, I think, is a great thing for them, because I think, at the end of the day, I feel like both sides of the hiring equation, like they both want it to go faster, but like the one side that's hiring typically is kind of like, they got a million other things going on, like we talked about, right? And it's like, how do we get to that time? It's like they know we need people, but then it's like, I got to, set aside time to go through all these candidates and do this. And this certainly streamlines that and expedites the process. So really cool to see it. And you say something?
I was going to say, on top of hiring faster, some really cool stats that are all, these stats are all ones from our actual data, right? They're from seeing through customers.
Sure. Yeah.
So with one specific customer, we were able to increase their applicants, the actual applicants they were getting in, by 3x, like 300% increase in the applicants we were able to get into their system. And the even cooler stat was their hire rate. So the rate of hire for a new applicant was 2.25x higher when they came through our call and text to apply. So like the method where they can just text a hiring number on the back of a truck or a QR code outside a facility, it redirects you to a text code or text number. And then you start texting with it. It'll tell you what jobs are available and actually help you apply for it completely from your phone without going to a browser. And it'll actually submit it in their applicant tracking system, update the stages, and add the attachment. So that's the other cool part on top of hiring faster, is like we have a higher success rate, I guess you could say, and we can actually get them more applicants.
Yeah, interesting. And I love that that whole approach too, because it is kind of, you see it, and I've certainly lived through it where, people were knocking on the warehouse door, like, are you hiring? What type of roles are you hiring for?
And maybe they fill out a paper application, then you have a stack of paper. I know some people listening to this have experienced that. So we had another customer who that was a huge thing, and 70% of those paper applications were in Spanish too. And so now we digitize that whole process. So it's not just a recruiter. Think of all the other tasks that recruiters do, or just like HR generalists, or people who just work the front desk at a warehouse, right? We're able to automate a lot of those tasks. Like we could even automate the press 3 for recruiting for the company line, and then they are just talking to a recruiter every time, because if you call those numbers, they don't get answered very often.
Yeah. Very interesting, and lots of possibilities there, and really great to experience it live and get to learn from you, and excited to see how this new venture for you continues to grow and evolve over time. So really appreciate you joining us and sharing Sam with us today as well. Great experience. If people are interested in learning more about Achilles HR and potentially hiring Sam into their recruiting team, what's the best way to do that and find it?
I'd say go to our website and book a demo, or shoot me a note on my email. It's just read@achilleshr.com. And one thing that we offer to a lot of prospective customers is proof of concepts or pilot periods, because we know there's hesitation implementing AI into their process. So people can try us for 30 days and can back out at any time during that. And typically they'll see ROI in the first 24 hours. So that's also really exciting to be able to add value. And most HR softwares will not let you try the product until you have signed the 1 or 3 year contract and paid for it.
Yeah.
We want to flip that on its head, and we also provide incredible support for our customers. So the days are over of having like slow moving HR tech companies that are supporting especially the more frontline industries. We want to bring them into the future.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great thing too, to be able to test it, especially new technology like that. So really appreciate you coming on, Reed, and sharing everything about Achilles HR with us. And we'll put all that information at thenewwarehouse.com as well as in the show notes here. So thank you once again for your time on the show today, Reed.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. It's a pleasure coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell Sam I said thank you too as well.
Yeah, I will.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video here on our YouTube channel, The New Warehouse Podcast, and I appreciate you tuning in. If you liked what you saw, make sure you subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video in particular, make sure you like it as well. And If you want to get this great t-shirt that you see in the video behind me, Warehouses Are Sexy, head to warehousesAreSexy.com and get your own.